items?
We do not.
No. Okay, thank you. On to our academic student spotlight.
You go to the podium. Board, I'm excited to highlight some students tonight. Our first group is our Lintown Poetry Path Poets. The Lintown Poetry Path was established in 2021 with financial support from Bucknell Stabler Center for Poetry and Literary Arts, as well as the Green Dragon Foundation. And the goal was to make poetry more accessible to the students and the community. The path consists of 6 illustrated poetry stops that encircle Lintown Intermediate School. In the first year, teachers and students selected published poems to be placed on the signposts. The last few years, we've transitioned to student-written poems. Each spring, our Lintown holds a poetry contest, which 4th and 5th grade students may enter. And our students tonight, some of them that are here tonight, are going to read their poems before they're added to the path. And so our first student is a 5th grader, our only 5th grader. 4th grader, when she wrote the poem, is Willa Blum. Willa, are you here? Willa, come on up here. Here's Willa's poem. Maybe congratulate you. And I'd love for you to read this for us. I have the poem actually right here for you.
Spring. Spring is when the trees, flowers, and worlds open up out of their blanket of dreamless winter sleep. When the entire world is a dreamscape of color, from the dark, hazy browns to beautiful colors of spring purples, yellows, greens, pinks, and blues. The animals have come out of their unforageable sleep and are together, the rabbits, deer, and birds, all dancing in harmony in the beauty of it all. There are exciting parts of winter too, like getting hot chocolate on cold days and wrapping up in your warm blankets. But the spring, it brings the growing beauty of nature, living things, plants all together. Even the smallest things can become absolutely beautiful in this unreal cornucopia of beauty everywhere you look.
Our next student, I'm not sure if she's here or not, but 6th grader Emmy Doan. Is Emmy here? By the way, Michelle Rosenberg is also here. I just spotted you there. She is our Lintown reading specialist and very integral to the process of this contest. Next student is 6th grader James Groff. Is James here? Come on up, James. James, congratulations. Here is the poem, and we'll let you read that right there. Go ahead.
Snake, my sly friend, never do it again, my friend. Keep out, get out, eat someone else's shoes. Stay for a snack or two, never will you leave, the best of all, can't you see? Keep eating my shoes and I'll eat you.
All right, next up, we have 6th grader Kaylani Balde. How are you? Oh, I have it up here. Yep. I remember that.
I remember in every break and recess, I saw a yellow butterfly outside. I remember I tried catching it, but it's fast like a cheetah, but I never gave up on it. I remember touching the wings once. It was so soft. I will not forget. I will always remember it.
Thank you, Kaylani. And next is 6th grader Ava Schreffler. Here it is. Go ahead.
That one tree that always sticks out. That one tree that is as tall as the sky. The raindrops falling on my head and the smell of sap coming from that tree reminds me of maple syrup. The sight of the green leaves with water on them and the gray sky that looks like my walls. The rain puddles remind me of a swimming pool. The sounds of rain going ding 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 on the roof and birds chirping a lullaby and dogs barking for no reason and the smell of the rain on the road. It smells like tar. The animals going to get food, getting wet, and some don't like that. The one tree that keeps you covered like an umbrella keeps you warm. Thank you.
I'm not sure if our sixth grader Anna is here. Anna Robinault. Very good title. Yeah. And George Homo is right back. Give him the title for a while.
Okay. My 8 cans mac and cheese. You think it's too crispy, but that's the best part. It's crispy on top, but in the middle, all you get is cheese. Cheese, cheese, and more cheese. Like she forgot the noodles.
We're gonna get a quick photo with the 5 that are here. Just want to stand right over here. We'll get a quick photo. If you want one as well. You can go right in here. It'll be awesome. Hang up all of your posters. And they get in the back here too. And shove it up here too.
Making sure everyone's now. Thank you. One more. All right.
Parents want pictures. I mean, the parents want to real quick. Thank you, Dr. Mattis. All right, we'll take your poems back so we can put them on the poetry path. I'll hand these to you. If you want. I'll do the one that's over the way too.
Yeah, so don't forget to come by Lintown and check them out.
Yeah, it's
Graders.
everyone, every last one, I lost shoe.
Yeah.
Couple more recognitions this evening. All right, thank you, our Lintown poets. Next up, we're gonna recognize 4 2026 National Merit Scholarship semifinalists. These high-achieving high school seniors are among the top 1% of students in the state and are selected based on their PSAT scores. They must meet additional requirements to become a finalist, which will give them access to National Merit Scholarships. I've asked them to come up when I call their name and tell us some of their future plans. The first student is Julia Monaco. Julia.
I plan on going to college and studying something kind of like at the intersection of math and science. I don't know if it's gonna be like computational bio or like biostats, but that's what I'm interested.
Any location quite yet?
I don't know quite yet, but definitely the north.
Northeast, okay, very good. Thank you, Julia. And then our next student is Benjamin Rogovan.
My plans. I would like to go to college. I'm looking at a major in either linguistics or math, just depending on the college I get into. Maybe even a double major in those 2 areas. I also want to continue my pursuits of like rollerblading. Maybe I'll go like long distance or something, travel across the state or whatever. And then in terms of location of college, again, something local, something northeast. My parents won't let me go further, but I don't want to anyways. But maybe I'll just end up now.
All right, thank you. Right. Our next student is Maya Sack.
I plan to go to college next year, again, probably in the Northeast. I want to study depends on where I go, but I want to study either chemical engineering or math and chemistry.
Very good. The last of my final list is Zachary Timms.
I intend on going to college at Bucknell specifically. I want to pursue a double major in math and physics and pursue both of those to a doctorate and eventually hopefully to a degree in theoretical physics.
Very good. Yeah, that's probably fine there. Go ahead and quick photo.
Linguistics, so many.
Another and one more recognition. I want to bring Julia back up before you go too far. Julia was selected and able to attend a governor's school this past summer. Come on up. And many years ago, back in 1999, I was able to attend a governor's school of education at Millersville. It was an amazing experience, very formative part of my life. And Julie was able to go to the governor's school for the sciences at Carnegie Mellon University. So I want you to tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so I went to PGSS this year and it was really impactful for me. I really enjoyed it. A little bit about it, every morning, every weekday, we had 4 hours of lectures. And then we had followed by like lunch and then electives, labs and team projects. So I did a computer science lab. I took a math finance elective, which I found really interesting. One called Brain on the Fritz. And also one about the human microbiota. And it was the interdisciplinary study of these different like niche kind of sciences was really cool to me. And just being able to like be surrounded by so many like intelligent people who had similar interests as me. And kind of the idea of like learning just to learn. There were no grades or anything like that. It was very like offline. We would all be in the, like common room of the dorm every day. It was the only room with air conditioning during the heat wave, and we would be doing our problem sets until like 3 a.m. all together. But yeah, and so then the final week was the week to like wrap up our research projects. Mine was on lipid monomembranes and antimicrobial and antifungal peptides. So we did a lot of work with analyzing the structure of the peptides using like physics and machines that we were really lucky to use, and CMU has amazing resources. But yeah, I met some amazing people I'm still in contact with. The group chats go off almost every day. And it was really impactful for me. It allowed me to figure out what I want to study and really like got me excited for college, I would say. And so I want to thank you for supporting and sending me to PGSS and encourage the same support for future students. It was really special.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you all for coming. You're welcome to stay for the full board meeting, but you are also welcome to stay.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have our budget year-end review. Which is Kyle.
I'm assuming, are we back to the town as well?
Temporarily, yes.
Temporarily.
Not really sure what happens, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
My computer.
Yes. All right, Kyle, when you're ready, you can begin.
All right, so we're gonna be talking numbers for 24-25. We tried to push this back a meeting or two, hoping that we would have some final numbers from the auditors. That their numbers aren't final yet, but I did reach out to them just to get some assurance that they weren't seeing anything that I wasn't seeing that would change anything too drastically from what I'm gonna share. So we have that assurance at least. So yeah, we'll review our budget to actual expenses, revenues, talk a little bit about surplus. And what we can do in terms of with the fund balance and looking forward to next year, 26, 27. So getting into the numbers for last year in expenditures, our total budgeted expenditures from 24, 25 are 42,870,000, and our total actuals were only 41,828. So we came in a little under budget for last year expenditures, mostly due to three main categories: our support salaries, our benefits, our total benefit. This is our budget, our reserve budget, which is part of that other transfers. So digging into the support salaries a little bit, we're about 190,000 under budget there. Broken up into three different areas. The third's instructional support. This was mostly regular ins and outs, new hires being less than the retirements and that sort of thing. The custodial maintenance, that was more direct relationship to those 3-4 positions that we haven't been filling regularly. It would typically, you'd see an even more surplus there, but because we are filling some of those holes with overtime, it's not as drastic of a difference as you would typically see from 4 unfilled positions. And then with athletics, that's mostly due to the change with our athletic director position going to a contracted position instead of salary, and a little bit of just coaching salaries being under budget. Good thing. Moving on to benefits. Total, we are close to 400,000 under budget. Some of that coming from instructional. This sort of follows with the support instructional and also teacher benefits as well. This is normal in and outs or benefit salary changes. Some more people waiving or changing their insurance benefits to maybe family to single or those types of changes. Support. This more directly correlates with the difference that we saw in salaries with both instructional or support aides and custodial and maintenance. It looks a little higher than what we saw in salaries because sometimes with partial year employees, you'll see benefits being slightly higher than salaries because you're paying partially your salary on a full year benefits. So sometimes that looks a little inflated compared to salaries. And then same with athletics, similar to what we saw in salaries. We didn't have, because we contracted the position for AD, we didn't pay any benefits there. So we saw that difference from that as well in benefits. And then the last large difference was in the budgetary reserve, which John had budgeted 350,000 in. we don't book any expenditures to that line, so anything that we budget to that line, it becomes surplus automatically, so. That helped create that difference, and then various other expenditures where we were slightly lower added up to about 50,000. And that gets us to just under that 1 million under for our expenditures at 995,000. Moving on to revenue for 24-25, total budgeted revenues were about 42,870,000, and total actual we received 45,063,000. So pretty good difference here, mostly made up by property taxes, more from earned income tax, some from basic education funding, it's a typical culprit, and some new programs like adequacy supplements. Digging deeper into the numbers.
What is that adequacy supplement?
Yep, so that's a newer program that the state started, when John was in budgeting, we wouldn't have known about it yet. And it was added to the Ready to Learn grant. As a, addition to the base of the grant. So that was about 103,000 that we didn't know we were gonna get at all, so it wasn't budgeted for. But just a little bit from property tax revenue. On 20,230,000 is a pretty small variance. It's about, we usually budget about 95% collection rate, and just a 1% variance in that collection rate is about 215,000. So it's basically, we budgeted 95% collection rate, and we might have gotten 96% collection rate. So not too big of a difference there. Earned income tax, this one's a little harder to nail down. Usually it correlates with the job market. According to Union County, there wasn't a big change in the job market from 23 to 24. So I can contribute some of the difference to, there were some late payments in 23, 24 that we collected in 24, 25 that would inflate that actual that we received. And just that, I think overall year after year, we're seeing better collection rate from Bergheimer. So we might see that get a little better each year. Like every year, it's hard to pin down basic education funding. This year still, the state hasn't given us an updated estimate on our basic education funding since we budgeted for it in May. So that's any indication. It's just hard to get that one right. And then like we talked about, the Ready to Learn was added, that the C supplement was added to Ready to Learn, which was a new addition for 24, 25. So in total, our expenditures 41,828,244, revenue 44,063,000, giving us a nice healthy surplus of 3,238,000. In the past, or in the last 12, 13 years, we've taken most of that surplus and transferred it to capital projects. So if we look back 2013, 2014, we had a fund balance of about 6,132,000. Our current fund balance being 6,557,000. We've only increased it about 400,000 or 35,000 a year. So basically just rounding of what we've kept in our fund balance over the last 12 years or so. Kind of much different than what you see in our expenditures being 28,000-ish in 2013, 2014, and our current budgeted expenditures for this year 25, 26 being 44,086,000. That kind of, our ratio was at 21% and now it's gotten down to about 15. Which I think we're still in I think we're still in a comfortable range. You want to try, I think a good rule of thumb is 2 to 3 months of expenditures, or 17 to 25% of your expenditures as a fund balance. So we're not too far off from that. I just wanted to sort of show where we were and where we are now, and then maybe talk about what other schools currently look like when we're thinking about what to do with our surplus this year. This is 23-24 data, AFR data from all the schools in our IU. The average of all the schools in our IU is about 25% fund balance expenditures ratio. We aren't the lowest. I think there's about 4 schools that have a lower fund balance than we do. Then it's pretty much the same. So just something to keep in mind with where other schools are. I'm not saying that we're in a bad spot at all. Just something to keep in mind.
There's nothing that governs that, Kyle, like, there's no state law that says it.
And what you can keep in your fund balance?
Yeah.
No, you can keep, so if you have over 19 million in expenditures, you can only keep 8% in unassigned fund balance, but you can keep as much as you want in your fund balance, in your total fund balance, being like unassigned and assigned balances. So yeah, as long as you're assigning some of those funds to keep your unassigned under that 8% threshold, you can save as much as you want.
40%, some of these schools are at.
Yeah, that's
a lot of money.
Yeah.
Some schools are throwing away quite a bit.
So he might be saving it for, upkeep, like, actually, that'd still be in capital. I couldn't tell you, actually.
They could, you can save for capital projects there. You can save for post-employment benefits, like retirement. I think you're gonna have a lot of post-employment expenditures. You could save for future lawsuit expenses there. That's what a lot of schools do as well. It's also just a factor that some schools are more funded by the state and federal government, so they're more susceptible to being in a bind. Like now, when the budget passed, less than we are, so they might feel the need to keep a little bit more in their fund balance in case something were to happen, like this current year.
I think that's what makes us a little bit more immune, right? That's why we can safely keep a lower fund balance, is because we get something like 75% of our annual revenues from local sources.
Yeah, it's all relative to.
And using Mecklenburg as an example is almost opposite of that. I think only 25% or 30%, something like that, comes from local, so. Them sitting on 41% makes sense because they're almost 3/4 of their revenue comes from the state.
Yep.
Kyle, just out of curiosity, where does transportation fall in the groupings on the first slide? Like, which category do they fall under? Because I know we've talked about we were a little bit over on our transportation thought last year. I just didn't see one that specifically said transportation.
Other services, 500 object code.
Okay.
That's, yep. Yeah, so we're pretty good there, unless I'd have to dig into a number to see if there's anything bringing it down to compensate for the transportation, but
Right.
yeah.
It was pretty close. Okay.
Yep. And then just to talk a little bit about what the next year looks like when we're talking about our surplus and what and what we want to do. Our Act 1 index for this upcoming year is 3.5. So I think we're pretty safe as far as what we can raise taxes by. I can't see a need to go above 3.5. I think passing the Act 1 index would probably be safe, this year. Keep in mind, 2026 is an election year in PA, governor, all the seats in the House and half of the Senate. So it might be, I don't, never know for sure, but it could be worse next year with the budget pass. Always with an anticipated increasing costs, some big areas that we think we could see some special education. Mr. Richmond has communicated to me that there could be a large increase in need in autistic support. Which, I mean, that also always adds a need for personnel, whether it be instructional or like we talked about, also the possible need for additional maintenance personnel. Utilities, we could see a large increase in energy costs. I know that Pennsylvania is looking at a lot of additional data centers, which could drive up demand on energy and could increase costs. Health insurance, this was our last year on our agreement with Capital Blue Cross. So when we're renegotiating there, we could see some increased costs as well. So I think it's not a bad idea to think about whether or not we can hold on to some of the surplus in a fund balance to help sort of lessen the burden on the taxpayer in a harsh year. So my recommendation was to transfer maybe 3 million-ish or less to capital and leave the remaining in unassigned fund balance, which is about, which I think would be about 250,000 maybe. But that's flexible, and it depends on what our final numbers end up being. With that, any questions, discussions?
Can you remind me what our current capital fund balance is?
Yep, it's our gross balance is 611,000. We have 217,000 of outstanding expenses and 450,000 outstanding revenue grants and monies from GDF that are outstanding as well. So our net balance is 843,000, sorry.
How much is the next part of the roof project? We had a number on that, right?
About $1 million. It depends what it's
a
like.
few different, yeah, a few different phases. Yeah.
Okay.
So
It's about $1 million though, that our last call. Finish the middle school.
And we did want to do that. Like right now, we're paying like that maintenance, like if something happens, kind of, they'll come and repair it or patch it or whatever, but how,
I think there was a lot of phases that were kind of coming up for the next year, so we definitely.
you want to do it this
we definitely
summer,
wanna do
summer?
some of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, you'd be pushing it back.
Right, and wait,
Yeah.
so summer of 26 and summer of 27, is there also a piece that's summer of 28?
Yes.
There
yes.
is.
And then there's a little bit of like the 3 or 4 year gap, and
29.
then potentially the high school would be due, restoration.
Yep.
That would be probably at the 10-year mark or the 20-year mark at that point, so.
So help me out here, Kyle, because you're more of an expert in this than I am, but if my memory serves, this is at least the 3rd year that we've had pretty significant surplus, which is a great problem to have, not as opposed to the other way around. But I don't know that there is a way for us, once we collected those taxes and had surplus, to necessarily say we didn't need all of it and give it back, like a rebate kind of thing.
Well, yeah, no, the giving it back would be to like using maybe some of the fund balance to balance the next budget, to not raise taxes.
Which was exactly the point I just wanted to throw out into the air. realizing that we have a huge capital list of projects coming down the road that we do not have the money for right now, but that will always be the case. And all of that, maybe we ought to give some thought, as you said, for some taxpayer relief, just maybe put more than what you suggest and a little less into capital with the plan that we do that very thing instead of, or at least help offset what we expect would be a raise for next year. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think that's one approach. It's just like, when do you want to have the increase? So what we could also do is you could not have increases tied to future capital projects. That's why, so if we have the money we need for 26 and 27, then we don't have to build in such a significant component into the annual budget for returning money to the capital fund. We could, for a few years, I'm saying probably we could go 3 years, maybe, without a significant budgetary assignment in the annual budget that would be planned on being transferred to capital. Or do you not want to do that because that's some other bad practice?
I think it sort of all depends on what our priorities are, and sort of what pops up in the next 3 years with capital projects. Because sort of, you never know, what large expense could be going around the corner.
So
Something also to take in consideration, just because we don't know how it's gonna like phase out, is like the changes that were just made with the education department regarding special education, and the fact that we have then noted like that we're gonna have an increase. And not that I think that the fund, like, we don't know how that fund's coming through, like, I feel like that's where some of that is like, is it gonna be reallocated in other ways, in ways that you have to justify it? So just as that's so up in the air with that information, because that was like a new thing that just happened, just to keep in mind, not that that means to assign things other places, but just keeping in mind the special education.
Yeah, something else to keep in mind is we can really transfer monies to capital whenever we want to. So if we were to leave some in our fund balance, we could then transfer it later if we change our minds.
We can take it out of fund balance that easily.
Yeah.
But it
You're not
triggers
supposed to take it out of capital though. So once we move it to capital, we're not supposed to move it back into the.
And where are we at with unassigned to fund?
Our unassigned is about 3 million. Which I can put up.
All right, so I mean, that, just the rough
It's like
number, we have
3.6 and
we have some
2.6, I
flavor.
think, right?
Was it 8 million, you said?
Our total is 6,557,000. I think it's about 3.1 of that is unassigned.
And how much can we have unassigned?
I think it's about 3.8, if I'm not mistaken. It should be 8%.
8%.
Of about 44 million.
So I'll defer to a couple other people who've been on the board with me for as long as I have. I feel like we've been ingrained, it's been ingrained in our minds to never put it in fund balance because it's so difficult to bring it back out. But I mean, would you guys agree that that's been kind of our philosophy?
it kind of was what we've told, but I think recently we might have been, Kyle might have educated us that maybe isn't as hard and fast.
The thing we were always told is you shouldn't have an end of year fund balance that is less than your start of your fund balance. And so.
Because it triggers audits and, you know, more red flags, basically.
But if you can explain it, the only way you can explain it is like if you have a big capital project and that exhausts your capital fund.
Yeah, from what I've asked other business managers, can have a deficit. And it doesn't trigger, you know, from the state or that.
So I guess I bring that up to say I would be in favor to place it on the least restrictive and you know, if putting it in the fund balance is easier to transfer it back out than putting it in capital, then I would be in favor of placing it in the fund balance.
Yep, so the only thing, it gets a little tricky because we can't put too much in unassigned just because we can't go over that 8%, right? If you just can't raise taxes then, so if you're over that 8%, you can't raise taxes.
What is it over the 8%? Like if we put it in now, like when does it have to be, like to be more fluid with it, be able to put it in the regular general fund unassigned, like when would it have to be assigned to something?
I'd say before the May meeting, when we're talking about approving the preliminary budget.
So theoretically, we could have over 8% unassigned, and then we could decide to transfer into capital at that time if we didn't see it.
Right, that's why we have always tried to transfer to capital, because that's sort of the same
Right.
place. You don't get questioned on accumulating in capital if you have projects lined up.
Yeah, yep, you can keep as much as you want in capital.
It sounds like we could go
Well,
go another $700,000 or so in unassigned fund balance and still be okay.
Yeah, that's correct. It's about 700, 650, I think.
Or hypothetically, it could all sit there until March.
Right, yeah.
And then we can look at if we need to transfer under the 8%.
Correct.
I'm still not totally clear on the definition of this, of assigned. So what do you, does that mean that there's a big fund balance, but some of it you're saying you're gonna use for?
It's earmarked.
Salaries.
For like the
or
capital
property
project. Like
No,
our
capital fund is different.
Oh, no, the capital.
The assigned one is the general fund is what we're talking about.
Yep, assigned and unassigned fund balance are part of our general fund.
So our, like,
Balance, our capital projects is a different.
Right, but what are some examples of the
Open it
things
up.
they're assigned to? Like, I can't
So we
visualize
have-
what the categories are.
We have 2.5 million assigned to projects and assigned fund balance.
Okay,
We have just under 1 million assigned to, I think it's future pension costs
okay,
assigned, and then the rest is in future lawsuit expenses.
nice.
I'm not sure, I have to go back and look at when we assigned those to those categories. I don't-
Is the capital projects category general? Or do we already kind of said the roof 26, 27, 28? Or is it a general capital project?
It's general, yep, we don't have it earmarked to anything specific.
Like pavement, like we could pave, we can decide we want to repave stuff.
Yeah, and then at the next board meeting in November, I'm gonna give a list of some of the things we need to get done over a time period, over a 5-year outlook, but. Yeah, that's something you can keep in mind.
Yeah, we don't have to decide, we don't have to vote on anything now, it's just. If we did, we could do that, the meeting with the final numbers from the auditors.
It should be in November, that the auditor's coming to do their final report and it's ready to go.
Sorry, one more dumb question. How hard is it to reassign? We said that when you put it into the capital fund, it's hard to get that back out. If you assign money in the general fund to one category, does it have to stay there forever
No.
to spend it, or can you
No, just
change your mind and?
Yeah, it just
assign
takes board action to assign it to something else.
Okay.
Yep. So it's not difficult.
So pretty much have maximum flexibility while it sits in the general fund.
Yeah.
Once you move it to capital is when it's kind of locked.
I can't remember, is a non-capital project the thing like every few years we spend, I don't know, 800,000, it's not that much. I know it's only like $100,000 for the band uniforms, or we redo all of our devices and that sort of thing. Is that what that comes out of? Or is that budgeted? But how do you remind me, because those are,
Devices like, I think we spend close to 500 or more on like, computers, like computer devices, that doesn't come out of capital.
doesn't
that's
kind of
budgeted.
capital, but we do that every year? Or are you saying when it happens, that's an every year assignment?
Yeah, I think the refreshments are basically every year, yeah,
For any building,
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
but I
those
think
aren't-
band uniforms, if I remember, is earmarked in capital projects.
It's
as-
in capital, it is.
We
Okay.
did, yeah, we did have that earmarked in capital,
It's not a true assignment, I guess, but we're earmarking it
yeah.
as that.
Well, it's because you know it's happening,
You know,
right? Like
you know
there's
it's coming.
Right,
those things that we know are gonna happen every so many years are in there.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, district data analysis report.
I think that's. All right, so you guys have it on your screens as well, but for the folks at home or eventually on the recording, our 2025 data review. I'm going to walk you through these slides. First is just some enrollment data. Didn't change much as far as race and ethnicity. You see some of the changes for disadvantaged economically, a slight increase there, slight decrease in English language learners. Special ed, we talked about that already tonight. Those, you know, part of our population that has been increasing over the number of years. And our gifted population has stayed at 5.6. Wanted to show you our cyber enrollment as well as just a piece of data since 2021, 22. Our both outside cyber placements and our in-school have been dropping. Our e-school right now has 9 students in it, all at the high school level. I believe it was 10 at the start of the year, but we're at 9. And we are at 33 outside cyber placements currently. I think I remember doing this report 2 years ago, and we were at that point at 54, if I recall that. So we've dropped a little bit since then. Majority of them are coming from Commonwealth charter. About, I would say 70% of those are coming from there. So I've over 33. So just for some awareness there. Wanted to give mainly some state data, different portals that we utilize. But this at Kelly Elementary, since we have data there only at 3rd grade, is for our Acadians data, which you can't see the name there, for last school year. This is our reading assessment that we use beginning, middle, and end of the year. This is showing, you can see at the very bottom, red meaning well below the benchmark, yellow below, green at benchmark, and blue above. And we can see at the beginning of the year, there's only 2 assessments that's given at the beginning of the year, letter naming and first sound fluency. So you see it, you know, majority there, about 73% in the green and blue. As you move to the end of the year of kindergarten, we're at a little less than 73%, but we're adding additional assessments. And the thresholds are continuously going up as you're going throughout the K year. But we do see from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, less red and students. So a lot of those well below benchmark students are moving to below benchmark. So we're working on that. And this was the first year that we had kind of school-wide intervention time happening in all grades. Also the first year last year with our literacy coach. Just to note that. And then in our first grade, this is probably the best of the 4 grades at Kelly. We were at 59% at benchmark or above benchmark, and at 73% at the end of the first grade year. That typically didn't happen that direction. Also, some new materials were utilized last year, 95% group. So first grade data is really solid. Again, a lot less red, well below benchmark students from the beginning of the first grade year. Second and third grade, kind of similar. We moved from like 73% to like 75, but there is less well below benchmark students. And as the interventions, the things that we're doing, it is working. Also in third grade, from the beginning of third grade to the end of the third grade year, a lot less red on that graph. And again, through every year, you're progressing and having additional assessments. Those thresholds, those benchmarks are going higher and higher throughout the year. So that's some of the local assessment data that we had. And then I wanted to show next our PSSA data, which starts at grade 3. English language arts. I gave you last year in the green, 2025, and the previous 2 years as a comparison. But just please note that these are different groups of kids. I give some cohort data later. But the group that was in third grade this past year was not the same as the previous group. So it's a little hard to do apples to apples comparison. But regionally, you see the rank at the very bottom. We were first, second, or third in all categories in the region of our IU, our 17 school districts. The one grade in English language arts that was higher than the previous year, again, different group of kids, was in 7th grade ELA. And again, feel free to interrupt me at any point to ask any questions. As we move to math, again, majority were first and second, 7th regionally ranked in 3rd grade. We did this year add a different curriculum resource called Bookworms in 2nd and 3rd grade, which is comprehension and writing. And so I think that's going to help in this current year. And 4 of those grades were up from the year before and trending up, especially at middle school. You can see that full band 6, 7, and 8 moving up. These screens here are from the Future Ready PA Index. So there's 2 things that are on there. Basically, this is showing proficiency and or if they're advanced in the PSSAs, as well as growth, which I'll get into next. For Kelly as a whole, which is just 3rd grade, is at 65% English language arts. The 2033 goal, originally was the 2030 goal, but with COVID it's 2033. The goal for all students in Pennsylvania is to be at 81%. At that point, this turns blue. It's green if you're hitting your interim target, and that target for 2025 is 71%. Because we're not at 71%, we were the previous year at that interim target, which is why this 3rd grade one is red. At math, we are above the interim target of 57.6. Math's a little bit lower as a target, but we're not at 71.8, which would turn it blue. You're going to see some of our graphs there are blue. If we move to Lintown, we are above that interim target in English language arts, and we're above the 2033 goal in mathematics, and that's why that is in blue shade. And you also see the statewide average for both of those that we're well above in both of those categories.
Can you tell me more about
Sure.
that mathematics, algebra? That's just middle school, or is it across? Oh, it's just for the PSSAs?
This is PSSAs just for Lintown.
Oh, just still for.
This is just 4th and 5th. These are building scores, so it's combining both of those grades. Yep.
And why do they call it? They don't have algebra in. Yeah, they call it algebra.
Because the other graphs for middle school and high school. they
Okay,
use the same
all right,
icon.
never mind.
Yeah.
It's like the
Kelly
middle
wants
school
to
version.
algebra too.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a math
Preparing.
or algebra, not math and algebra.
Yes,
Gotcha.
it's that could be an or, that it's a slash. At the middle school, again, still proficiency, proficient or advanced on PSSAs. We're close to the 2033 to be in blue, but not quite there in English language arts. And at 63%, again, this is for the building, so combining those 3 grades together. And then I want to show you some cohort data. I thought Dr. Graham, you'd appreciate cohort data.
Yes.
This is taking, and the number of class 2029 is kind of crazy to me too. But our current 9th graders will graduate in 2029. Kyle was 2027, I believe. No. 2007, maybe you were, Kyle. We got math in the teal, and we've got ELA in yellow. It's interesting that the trend lines are very similar from when they were in 5th grade as they went to 8th grade last year. It's very similar kind of
Vince,
line structure.
what is the y-axis here? What are we counting? Is this a percent of something?
Yes, percent proficient advanced.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And typically math is historically and all, I mean, most of them you're going to see that math is always going to be lower. A couple of these, they are pretty much at the same level. But yes, this is percent proficient and advanced. Our 8th grade cohort, current 8th graders. Again, pretty even line going across there, a little bit closer together for math and ELA. Our 7th graders is where I was saying that they are very close. They were touching there in 4th grade. Again, these are earlier grades. Then it's a little bit more rigorous in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade as far as math and ELA as well. third grade not having the TDA starting in fourth grade. And I think I just did one more, the current sixth grade cohort. Not sure why I can't click, there we go. We see them in third grade, right at like 60, high 60s. Ticking up in fourth grade as they transition to Lintown. And then pretty even there as we have a little bit of a drop there as they go to fifth grade for that class. And then what I think is really a good thing going across, there's a lot of blue here in academic growth. So based on what is expected of our students, they have PVOS is what this is called. But it's from the Future Ready PA Index, but PVOS data, growth data, it's checking to see, did they make more than what was expected of 1 year's growth? And so the goal is to be at 75 for a growth score. At Lintown in ELA as well as math, we were at 100. So we made significant evidence that we made good growth in both of those subject areas. Science went to new standards. That's why I'm not showing any science data. And science went from fourth to fifth grade as well, and also new standards that have started. So there is not much data that's consistent to math and ELA. And then more specifically, this graph here is from our PVOS site, which is our growth site. And as we're looking at Lintown, this is that predictive data that I was talking about. That dark blue that they're in right now is showing there's significant evidence that they've exceeded the growth standard. Basically down the middle is 0. And if you're at green, light blue or blue, you're good. And they have that little extra part that means it's even above that dark blue. And in fourth and fifth grade, a lot of good growth happening. What was expected, they were beyond that. At the middle school, also lots of great growth, 92 as opposed to 100 in math. And you're seeing again, grade there, again, a lot of positive growth. You don't want to be on that red and yellow side where they're not making a year's amount of growth. And then moving to Keystones, again, we have the regional rank there. This is middle school and high school combined in this scoring. And we're seeing 3 years of that proficiency, down a little bit in algebra and bio, and pretty much the same in the literature. Again, different groups of kids moving across there. And then I kind of broke down each subject test. This is showing how many students that were proficient or advanced, or yellow is not proficient, so they were basic or below basic. So in 7th and 8th grade, the students that took the test, they were proficient or advanced. The next slide will show you how many of them were proficient and how many were advanced. So that's basically showing you there, if they were in Algebra 1 in 8th grade and took an intermediate algebra in 9th grade, that's their breakdown. And if they took Algebra 1 in 9th grade, they were tested then in intermediate algebra in their 10th grade year. And then 11th grade and 12th grade year is potential move-ins or those that might have retested. And we've got some there, those retesters that maybe did not pass to get proficient or advanced. And then the breakdown on the next slide is of those students, how many of them were advanced, proficient, basic, or below basic. 7th and 8th grade, if they were in that higher math class, the majority of them were advanced. A couple there in proficient and green. And then as we move across, we're seeing that structure. And I think there's some things to review here on how our math sequence. Those that are taking Algebra 1 every day in 9th grade and then taking intermediate algebra as a tested subject in 10th grade, it's maybe not as beneficial as we might have hoped, giving them kind of that 2-year algebra approach. So we could relook at that math sequence to kind of reconsider that potentially. So I want to bring some math teachers together and some administrators to look at that. Moving to bio, we've got 40 that were proficient in 9th grade, two that were not proficient, and then in tenth grade, those that didn't take it in the ninth grade year, they take it the following year. And then eleventh grade potentially as a retester or a move-in, only 3 students in that category.
Sorry,
Yep.
maybe you said this, so can you explain what a retester is?
So if they in their, say in their tenth grade year, they did not, they were not proficient or advanced, they were basic or below basic. A lot of times, if they are pretty close, we will have them retest so that they are passing. And then one of their graduation paths is a Keystone Composite score, which is you pass in 3 of those tests.
Okay.
So those that were close, we might have retested in their 11th grade year from the previous year.
But is that, are they opting in to be retested, or we say we want you to test again because?
They're not taking that course again. There are some schools that do a remediation course as a following year and then do that retest.
No, I'm sorry, I just meant taking the test. Is it their choice to take the test again, or is it our telling them to? Take the test?
It's a good question. I could ask that question. I don't know if we are,
Do you have to take the Keystone biology to graduate?
it's one of like 5 different pathways. It's probably the easiest pathway is to pass the Keystone Composite. So then you would want it, yes.
Yeah, so pretty much,
If they're going, if they want to, if they're potentially opting for one of the other pathways, through the NACD or through Suntech.
Right.
Don't necessarily need that anymore. Originally, you did need it for sure. There have been additional pathways added since. So, which is why I think we potentially would have had a remediation course at one point. We don't necessarily need to have that, but people that are on the cusp, we would suggest to them that they would retest. I don't think they're forced to retest. Okay. But if they're very close, it gets them to that graduation pathway, so.
Okay.
But I can look into those particular 3 students if that was the case or not.
Yeah, I think it'd just be helpful to know whether, like, it's their choice or
Yep.
our choice.
We got that, yes.
Well, like the 38, well, sorry, okay, yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Well, sorry, but I didn't, no, those kids just took bio in 10th grade.
Right, yeah.
It's the 11th graders, they were either a move-in or they were a retester.
Yeah.
The previous, got it. Yeah, but bio can be taken in 9th grade. That'll be your highest students taking it there.
Yes.
And then they'll take another science in the 9th grade year and then take bio in their 10th grade.
Thank you.
And there's the breakdown of those students that took bio, how they fared, on the 4 different scores. And then Keystone Literature, the reason there's not anything on the 11th grade years, we do some retesting in literature, we do that in the winter. And our data from Next Day Data didn't include the winter scores, it only did our spring scores, so. 88 were proficient or advanced, and 34 students were not. And then I think the breakdown is on the next slide here. Where we have like 72% that were proficient or advanced. And then looking at their proficient or advanced, the goal was 81% for the 2033 goal, and we exceeded that in English language arts and mathematics, well, in this case, algebra, which is why those are both blue. And I think we got some growth data. Again, I said that they're very high achieving scores in language arts, but our students didn't make that growth data that was expected of them. And so that's why that is red there. So we need to look, a lot of those high students are not necessarily taking the typical English, they're taking like AP seminar, and they're doing well on the test. They're probably getting proficient or advanced, but they're not scoring as where it's expected that they should score. They should expect even higher than they are. So that's why that growth data is not where it is like the other subject areas. Math, they are exceeding that, they're beating that expectation. And then finally, some AP data. This was on maybe that one or two pager that was passed out a couple months ago, but this has kind of what percent passed each test. 480 classes. Some of them are more than once. Sometimes some students are taking more than one class. Not everyone takes the exam. We had 315 exams this past year. with an average score of 3.7. 85% of our students did score a 3 or higher. And three or four is typically, or 5 is, what you get in college credit depending on the institution that they're going to. So that data is there for you. And then I think I have got one more slide on SATs. The top bar there is just showing our average SAT score of 1227. National averages down below just as a comparison point, at 1029. And then finally, I think I have some just key takeaways. There could be some other bullets to pull away from, but again, we're consistently are a high achieving district in all our grade levels. Move this guy over here. And in most of our subject areas, we were ranked very high, except maybe of one that was a little lower than typical in third grade math. Math achievement was trending up in 4th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, especially with that middle school band. Lots of good growth in math and ELA grades 4 through 8. A little bit of a decline in our third grade ELA achievement. Again, put in a new kind of curriculum map there last year. Added some things this coming year for comprehension and writing in 2nd and 3rd grade, which I think will help that for the coming year. High achievement in English language arts and algebra, and high achieving students not meeting the expected growth in ELA keystones. And it's something for us to consider as an administrative and instructional staff. That's the report for data for this past year. Any other questions on any of those graphs?
Did you get the reports that broke it out by like SES and attribute to see if we still have disparities, or if our disparities are alarming or normal?
Yeah, you can on Future Ready PA Index. It'll be open to the public probably in the next week or two. Right now, it's currently just on like preview for admin. There's no icon on there that you can break it open and see the different ones there. For us, though, there are some of them that are just a small number of students in that group that it's kind of hard to. It might be going down, but there's only maybe 6 or so in that group. Then it's kind of hard to really take too much value into that. But yeah, we can definitely pull that up. We also have this other graph from next day data. If you want the further information, we can get you access to this. We've got data, we can actually change a couple of these we can change SES and things like that. But we've got lots of different additional data that we can look at, but
There's always
It goes
a small
into
disparity,
anchors.
but it's like, as long as it's not getting worse, and you know, how do people even address that? It's tutoring programs and it's other enrichment activities, and it's not something that we have historically done, but it's just something
Right.
that we don't let
Something to
get
consider.
worse, yeah.
Yep.
I do think that wind time at the elementary at Kelly, and that is on its way to Lintown as well, I think does help address that a little bit. Just
for sure.
because when those kids get regrouped, it truly is getting exactly what is at their level. And I do think right, nothing changes quickly over time, but I do think over time that strategy of how to group those kids will benefit everyone. So I do think that's a
Yeah,
big piece.
There's definitely a lot of time for those things to kick in. Like a new math program like 4 to 5 years ago. Those students, you know, at the middle school level now, and we're going to continue to see some of those things. But you don't necessarily see them, you know, in 1 year increments either.
I'm curious, sort of comment slash maybe question for future possible meeting, like just how the what we're learning from the test scores and what we would see when we look at the distribution of grades on report cards, whether they support each other or they seem like there's a disconnect there. And I'm in no way suggesting that somebody taking a test on one day, like, do we expect that individual student would be reflected in their grade overall semester? But you can imagine, like, if everyone was failing biology, but our test scores said that 60% of our students were proficient, like, we would say, okay, maybe something is a little off here. But conversely, it's the other way around, and everybody's getting A pluses in biology, but the tests are showing different, at least on a grand scale. You hope that those two align. So I figured it'd be good for us or to just have some saying to that maybe at some point in the future.
Something related that I try to think about is if you look at our seventh grade algebra data, for example, and our eighth grade algebra data, it almost seems like we haven't cast a wide enough net because was it 80-something% is advanced and then the tiny sliver is just proficient, but still, like maybe that proficient sliver could be bigger and we could have more kids that are completing the Keystone Algebra in seventh grade. The same is true for eighth grade, although, you know, you've already taken off the children who find the most joy in math, and then you've got the next block of kids, and they're still doing well, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it might be worth considering casting a wider net, and then that will alleviate some of the pressure that you see kids coming in to high school, and they, you know, it's the algebra 2, then the advanced algebra trig, then pre-calc, then calc 1, then calc 2, and people are being advised to skip pre-calc, and I think that may end up not being best serving them later in life. So if there's a way that we can move attention, I skipped geometry in there, I'm sorry, but you know what I'm talking about. Like I think we're not casting a wide enough net.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility to add a section, making the classes just a little bit bigger.
I don't know if they want it bigger because it was like 29.
Right, so it potentially could change the other sections and their size get growing, so there is some scheduling implications when getting it, so.
But I think we should overcome a scheduling issue if it's disadvantaging kids who would like to be able to get to those higher levels later on without having to skip a really fundamental
Key.
component of their math architecture in their brain. Okay. Calendar time. Thank you.
Yep.
Is there any other questions for the data? Or anything you would like to see? All right, thanks, Vince. So we're looking at the board meeting calendar for 2026. Ashley brought up a good point, and I've looked at this. We thank you for actually going back and checking because it is the truth. We have very short meetings, the first in January when we're back. It's a shame because it is so long since our previous meeting, and we don't want to lose the sort of the culture of seeing each other and having conversations. So it's just a decision of, do we also want to think about, you know, would we eliminate January 8th? Like really nothing happens.
Yeah, we're on vacation, I mean, our teachers are on vacation, there's not a lot happening, a lot of our administrative staff take off that last week after Christmas, so there is not a lot happening.
What do people think?
I'm usually gone.
Oh, you know what, I'm
Week of
sorry.
January 8th, or-
I'm sorry I had to skip a second here. This is an action item tonight, so to talk about it, we need to take a motion.
Oh.
So can I hear a motion to approve okay, moved by Ms. Lyons, second by Dr. Grant, and now we're discussing. So, okay, continue.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, I like our family goes on vacation, because it's generally around that, like Christmas time. Oh, I'm not saying you should make your decision based on my family, but more so I think it's to this point, people are kind of around, you know, business is just kind of getting restarted again.
Also, because we've streamlined a lot of our processes, I feel like we're doing things with greater and greater efficiency. So it may be that we don't need. I'll just kind of get everyone's sense. Do we want to not see each other for 6 weeks though? How do we feel about that?
I mean, the kids are back in school on the 5th. Right, Monday the 5th, the kids are back in school.
Yeah, I have to check.
Yeah.
It's on there.
So, I mean, it's like school's in session.
Yeah.
We're saying you're taking a vacation that week or the week after Christmas, or both?
Oh, we go away that week of the, yeah, like.
And your kids are younger too.
Yeah, no, my kids are, so we're in a different spot, but,
Yeah.
more so I was suggesting that week, because I think everybody's just kind of getting rolling, and as you said, there's not a lot going on at that meeting usually. And
Kyle, is there anything that we have to do that early in the year?
We have to, well, if we're going to go with approving, Act 1. Resolution, that has to be done before January 30th.
So
But
we
if there's a second meeting, if there's a later meeting in January, then.
But that's something we usually. Oh, you mean just if we wanna go above Act One, we have to, oh, that we,
Either way, if you're gonna go above Act One and you want to approve a preliminary budget, then that needs to be approved by the end of January. Or if you're going. to-
Ever. have we ever gone above Act? We talked about this, I don't think.
Gone
We
back,
voted last year to not
For
go
the first
above.
time,
yeah, I've
But
gone back
before we
pretty
never
far, and
voted.
I haven't seen us go over the Act One index ever.
We've always allowed ourselves the option, but we've never actually done it, and so I don't even, it was like a meeting to have a meeting about it, I don't. Is anyone thinking we would ever go over the Act One index, except in
I think especially for this year, the conversations we just had earlier in the meeting, which leads to like what we could do to not increase taxes as much, like leads to
also,
this year would make sense to do
even
that.
if we had a crazy situation, we have the fund balance to cover us. And we would have the conversation at this time during that same year to decide the calendar for the following year if we did need to pass a preliminary budget. So you're right, for the 2026 calendar.
Vince, do you see any potential hires at that, mid, after the second market period? Any?
Jewish, come on.
Not just- Because hiring, obviously, just throwing it out there, so, do you see any potential?
Right, would they have had to tell us by now, like if someone was retiring in December, would they have had to tell us by now?
We do have, we'll have a need for a long-term sub, like a 90+ one for the rest of the school year. But we're gonna be posting that tomorrow, and potentially we can have that for the December meeting. Because they would start in January, so they'll be done in December, so no other ones that I can come to mind.
Do you think we should, it just seems like a very long time to go from December 7th to January 22nd. Like, should we like just move that up a week? Like, I have no issue not doing the 8th one and doing just one in January.
As we pointed out, like with Jordan and with Mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can do the 8th if not the 22nd.
I don't know, I feel like school's back in session, we should be back in session, but even. if
Yeah, I
there's
know,
not a
it's
whole
good
lot to
then.
do it, But I'm not, I don't feel strongly either way.
That's a short meeting.
Oh, yeah, no, I think my larger thing was we thinned out the meetings at the end of the year, realizing that we maybe didn't have enough business for 2 meetings every month. And so what if you were looking at the spring and saying the same thing?
Yeah, the spring week,
That like.
there's a
we
lot more that
condensed when
happens,
we
yeah,
had-
yeah. The other thing is we talked about, February is always that time when there's like an executive session where a whole bunch of, that's when kids get wild and disciplinary stuff comes up and we decide to install more cameras and vape detectors and things on buses, whatever it is, all that stuff. Also, sometimes we're finding out about, well, this year, we'll be finding out about budget.
Eventually. Yeah, eventually.
When's our December meeting?
It's the Monday, it's always the
There's
Monday.
a third.
Yeah, but that's.
It's very early.
Oh, right, that's what I'm
Yeah.
just, so, but if we meet on the 3rd of December.
That's what we're saying, it's a very long time from January.
Right, that's what I was,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's.
It's probably, yeah,
Yeah.
I think I prefer it to be short to keep the meeting. Just because you never know what's gonna.
That's how I feel.
Also, because we have had discussions about the school calendar, that first meeting in January, and then we talk about it a bit and kick it around, and then we vote
Because
on it.
that's usually when if there's like early snow days. Like if there's been snow, like
Oh, we
with
have to
weather
address
and
the
stuff,
current
the
calendar.
current calendar,
Yeah,
that
and then
way.
we look at the next year's as well, right? I mean, sometimes we don't get to it till February. So in general, it sounds like people would rather, because we've already trimmed quite a bit, we'll go with this one for this year, right? Pilot, do the experiment, and then we'll see what things look like in the following year. So I believe we are ready to take a vote. All in favor of this board meeting calendar for 2026, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Our next item is new business, the support staff agreement. Vince, you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, so this is a very minor change. You can actually scroll down to page 23 to see it. Let me get to it myself. It's on vacation days. We just realized that there was a discrepancy. One other section kind of negated what was being said here. But both places it needs to say the days must be used by the first day of the school year as opposed to August 30th. And so we're correcting that. This year, because it said it in two different locations, we gave support staff the option to use the first day of this, or to use August 30th. But going forward, we would like there to be changed to make it before school starts.
That makes sense. I see that. It's, page 31 of the doc, it's page 23 on
Yeah,
the bottom.
23 on the-
Yeah, but
yep.
31 of the document, if you're scrolling through, it's just one line. All right, can I have a motion to approve the support staff agreement?
So moved.
All right, moved by Ms. Kraus, second by Dr. Graham. Any discussion? We like internal consistency. All right. This is actually just a language change. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We got policies for first reading. We have quite a few here. Is there anything among these that you are remarkable, more remarkable than others that you want to talk about? first readings?
A lot of them are kind of just adding some language, like some legal citations. The one I would point out is 122.2, the committee notes say 0.1. There's a new policy referencing non-school sponsored student groups. It's just a brand new policy where the other ones are existing policies with some language changes and some legal citations.
I had a question about the scholastic policy, the sports, one.
Which
Interscholastic, 123?
Sorry, I mean, yeah, 123. There's some language in here about name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, Nil is coming to high school.
High school.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it's not checked there. Does that mean that we're adding it or not adding it or?
That should be added. We were planning on putting that in if that X was not there. That,
Oh, good catch that it's in green, but it's not X.
Right, right.
yes, it should be X. So that was.
Eagle eyes over there. He doesn't need reading glasses yet.
That's some scary stuff, yeah, but.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
there's
is.
athletes that come into college that already have
Yep.
like a personal brand and all kinds of sponsorship.
Yeah.
High school athletes that have
They
sponsorship.
have to, like, first thing, right, they have to tell the coaches, athletic directors, they have to know the bias right away.
Right.
But it's,
Yes, that should be X. So for that first reading, yes.
All right, do I hear a
Okay.
motion?
I'm sorry, can I? ask
We can
one
still
question?
discuss, but I want to capture this,
Yeah.
this, that we're gonna check this. So
Yeah, sorry.
do I hear a motion to approve the policies for first reading with the inclusion of checking the name, image, likeness box on policy 123?
So,
Moved by Dr. Mattis.
Second.
Second by Ms. Kraus. Okay, what do you have, Joe?
I had a different question, hopping back to the one that we said was new, the non-school sponsored street groups. Could I have an example of what a non-school?
Fellowship of Christian Athletes, FCA.
Okay. Okay, just.
I mean, in our school, but they're not necessarily our club there today.
Okay,
so they don't need it, I'm sorry, I didn't.
but do they take resources or what, no, they just identify?
They're allowed to
Well,
use our
they do
space,
stuff.
yeah. They're allowed to use our space. I'm trying to think of other ones.
They don't have, do they have an advisor, school advisor or nothing? It's just
not.
They have someone there,
They're-
but they're not an advisor. They're not our, but they're there for
They're
being in the
volunteers.
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, that's all I was wondering if that was.
And there was a very recent court case in March of this year, which is why kind of this policy stemmed from in Pennsylvania, in Twin Valley School District in Berks County.
Thank you for bringing those, just for like referencing, that's excellent.
Yeah, it's a new format for us. I mean, Kristen and I are working on getting, kind of making sure you can see all the changes.
Yes,
So that's something that we'll have going forward. And we want to miss that X, but that was probably, I didn't have it marked on our notes, so.
I guess in my heart, I was hoping that maybe we were just gonna.
I don't think we can.
We don't have a
We
choice.
don't have a choice.
Yeah.
It's a-
I know we don't, but I was like, maybe we were, gonna be rebels, but.
See, I almost think, I know they give us choices, but some of them.
Yeah, that one,
They
that
go straight
one,
from the law.
that one is an optional one. You didn't have to include it, but knowing where it's happening in colleges.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Seeping into the high schools. so.
Yeah. All right, I think we're ready. Kristen?
Dr. Graham,
Yes.
Dr. Grant. Yeah. Ms. Samus,
Yes.
Mr. Heath,
Yes.
Dr. Jablonski.
Yes.
Mrs. Kress.
Yes.
Ms. Lyons.
Yes.
Dr. Mattis.
Yes.
Mr. Fetzer.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And we don't have about the when going to initial.
Was that?
Okay. We didn't have a meeting. No, I'm good. I know what I'm talking about.
I can.
No, I know, I want to make sure you weren't gonna talk about it. Okay, so although I was not able to make the meeting, and I almost feel like I'm repeating myself about the GDF thing, but I must have told another group about the middle school locker situation. They did go and check it out.
It did, it wasn't us, it was last week, so we haven't met, they went.
That's right, yeah.
I think you
And,
told us that before planning, we talked about it.
oh, that's right, thank you.
Tuesday, yeah.
It's had like a deja vu moment there. And that would be a capital project that we would need to take on. So just if there were a wellness space carved out, a fitness lab, something with that sort of vibe, I think we could ask for their assistance and maybe even a sponsorship. But the bulk of the problem and project would be on our capital budget. And I feel like, you know, Kyle, you sort of, I mean, Vince, you feel fully aware, and Kyle, you sort of acknowledge that too. And we may be trying to get, you were at the meeting, that's why I'm having deja vu, because you went and we texted about it, so you should share.
You were there.
What do you want me to share?
We conferred, and basically, there's not a enthusiasm around trying to take on such a large project, especially that the numbers the dollar amounts we were originally considering. So just,
Oh, for the, like the.
yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
You were on one of your things, I didn't read it.
All I wanted to do was put it out there that I do think it's something we need to build in as we think about transferring to capital projects, as we think about things that we want to prioritize. Vince is going to present next time. Just keep it in front of us that there are some things we have to sort of just decide we're going to do it or we're going to put it off, and we need to budget accordingly. But that's a significant capital expense.
The gist was, as we've heard before, there are some things that are easier to raise funds for and that there is more of a appetite for. It didn't seem to me like, while everybody in the room felt like those locker rooms were just what everybody in this room has seen. And nobody felt like it was something that they're gonna donate a lot of money to.
Maybe a tour should be involved in the fundraising, like, we'll fundraise, come take a tour, see what we're, when you see what's there, you get why.
Nobody donates to bathrooms and parking structures or,
You know what part of the problem is, and I kind of feel this way myself, while I think that is an underutilized space and it could be used a lot better for a lot of reasons. It's also a very significant expense, so when you compare that against all of the other things that are known
Right.
expenses that we
Yeah.
have coming down the pipe that we review every year on the 5 and 10 year projected chart. And you really justify
No,
spending.
that's
No,
right.
that's why they look the way they do.
It's never risen to the top. It's really never been top priority.
And that's why I don't know if it ever will rise to the top, you know what I mean? Realistically,
No, I mean,
it is what it is. It's like I said at the meeting, it needs to be fixed, but at the same time, it's not eating anything. It's not causing the roof to leak. It's not allowing heat to escape. It just is there. It's a bit, it's outdated. It's not being used to the best as it could be, but
But it's still being used, that's the other part,
It is.
it's not just empty space, like it is
It is.
still usable.
I actually learned there actually is a little bit of empty space back there that could be being used differently if it weren't configured the way it is, but for the most part, you're right, it's being used, it's not not being used efficiently.
Yeah.
But, you know, and, you know, Vince feels very optimistically that, you know, the estimate we have is probably not real and is overinflated, but in my personal experience with school construction projects, probably not, because they never come in
yeah.
anywhere close to where they're projected to come in for whatever reason. So,
Out of curiosity, because Kristen, you were in the middle school for a very long time. Is that a thing that you would prioritize? Do you think
That is space that could be used to look at, because it isn't being used. There's that space, like where the football used to keep them with their uniforms. There's a room, I think if you go out behind the boys, there's a
It's like a restroom.
wrestling
Yeah.
or I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a restroom. It's still.
Yeah, that's no longer being used, so that's a space that's not being used. I think it's very outdated, I can tell you that, and showers and it's
Yeah,
just.
we've seen them.
Right, so it only will
Yeah.
come up when we have immediate space needs. For example, when we did the conversion for the special ed room, when we did some of the carve out of the copy room, when we fixed the area inside the library. Is there any other immediate space need that would require us to put that higher on the list? We got an officer's, officer's office, but you know.
Yeah, unless another special, I mean, we're capped at space at this point. We would need another classroom for special ed or something, that would, there's not really a spot for it.
Here's a very real world hypothetical for you. We've talked about this. In a finite number of years, we're gonna have a refurbishment of the turf field out there that's gonna be due to the tune of like $1 million. So which project do you think we're gonna get more pushback for if suddenly we can't use our turf soccer field? Or because we say, you know, we would like the middle school kids to be able to dress in a better locker room? I mean, those are the kinds of
Yeah,
scenarios that I see that I don't see play well.
Yep,
I think.
opportunity cost. If you do one, you can't do the other, so.
Yeah.
But like the
Realistically.
sign said, it's usable. The kids are using it every day. And there's nothing that's saying that they, holding that back from using it. They're in there, they're changing their clothes for gym, their practices, so it's.
There is always the possibility that in somehow, some way that we cannot imagine, much like your brilliant way that we came up with air conditioning in all the buildings, that somebody has an epiphany and we suddenly figure out, you know what, we could do this and make better use of that space that doesn't necessarily involve me. Maybe that never happens, I don't know, but I, for one, was in the camp that we would never have air conditioning in all of our buildings, and then somehow circumstances fell into place and we were able to do it affordably and make it
Next
happen.
global pandemic. We'll do the
Yeah.
launch.
I wasn't wishing for that.
Having mold issues, right? Because that was really what drove the early part of that conversation. So yeah, less of a president's report and more of a preview for next time, but it's just something to keep in mind that we did, put it out there, and Vince will report on the other things that he's presented to GDF for potential fundraising opportunities.
Yep. For my report, first I want to say, Kyle, thank you for the presentation and working with the auditors. That was a good discussion we got to have about that. I wanted to tell you about some surveys that are coming up for our students as well as our staff. The PACE survey is going to be happening November 10th through the 24th for grades 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th, the even grades. It identifies risk factors for influencing student behavior. It's anonymous, confidential. We're going to send out a passive permission slip to our families, most likely tomorrow. If they want to opt out, they're willing to do that. And then new this year is PACE Junior. It's a shorter age appropriate version for 4th grade students. And again, happening in that band in middle of November. But if you're a parent of those students in those grade levels, we'll be getting that letter most likely tomorrow. And then also, we're doing an employee experience survey through Student Education. This is to all of our full-time staff to kind of get a baseline of school climate, employee experience, and have some good data for conversations and on how we're doing with our staff. Potentially also doing some student forums in late November with students to kind of get their perspective. And then I want to tell you real quickly, the district playoffs have begun. And I want to tell you, so you're aware of those events coming up. Girls soccer was in districts. They did lose tonight. Unfortunately, girls cross country finished first today. The district meet, Bailey Espinoza getting 2nd place. Boys cross country was 2nd in the district. Justin Knoll came in 2nd place overall. Both teams are going to be going to states on November 1st with Hershey. Boys soccer plays at Warrior Run on Saturday. Plays Warrior Run at Midwest on Saturday. Field hockey, I don't know if we got an update yet, but they're playing tonight at Central Columbia. And volleyball, I don't have a date for that yet, but they also made districts. I believe it's their third third season.
Third season.
So that's pretty impressive, that trajectory that they made in 3 years. So, that's my update.
I can't get my.
I also saw that Bailey Espinosa committed to Penn State.
She did. I believe we're gonna have a signing day, coming up in November. We'll have some more information coming out. I believe she'll be a part of that.
That's fine, thank you. Some board liaison and committee reports. Joe, do you want to start?
CSAU did meet last week. They're continuing to do really good work over there. I don't have specific items. Report back to.
Okay. Jordan, do you want to share anything special about JOC?
It was one of our shortest, maybe record-breaking meetings over there, so nothing.
Corey wasn't even there.
Right? Nothing too much to report, just business as usual.
Okay. It's kind of a good thing, right? Just business as usual.
It's like changing up police resources, but the county decided to. Anyway, so we're now using New Berlin instead of the Union County Sheriff's Department. But again, that's been a work in progress, so nothing too crazy.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor Jordan and I also went to Poconos
Oh,
for our
that's
delegate
right.
assembly.
Yeah.
Riveting annual delegate
Also,
assembly.
record-breaking delegate assembly.
Yeah.
Why is that?
We
I mean,
spent more time getting there
Oh.
than in our seats voting. But
I think there's probably half an hour in and out, but.
really,
Just why you go virtual now.
Right.
That's the first time I've been here.
I was sharing with Heather the one year that people were arguing and just like.
Getting up and then
Yeah.
it's like,
No,
not
none of
like
that.
two sides of an aisle.
very few.
That's so funny because they said you couldn't, there was no virtual option this year, right? So you had to go and it
Yeah.
was only half an
What
hour.
was it about?
Oh, that, yeah, so I think 140-ish, so out of 500 school districts in the state, you know, sending delegates.
But it's all the way in the Poconos. Like if you're in Pittsburgh or something, that's.
But it was, I thought, I walked in and I mean, remembering times at Hershey and different places, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people, so
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
very, I thought a very low attended,
Did you
delegate
get a
assembly.
donut or something?
We got a cookie.
Was it free?
Yes.
Okay, good. At least they gave you a cookie.
That was coffee.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that.
Oh,
Thank you
yeah,
for the
no,
reminder.
that's fine.
Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda? I'm sorry, we didn't capture that yet, right? No, okay. Motion to approve the
So moved.
consent agenda,
Oh,
moved by
second.
Dr. Grant, second by Ms. Kraus. Okay, we'll do a vote.
Dr. Grant,
Yes.
Ms. Sanos,
Yes, with the exception of the minutes.
Mr. Heath,
Yes.
Dr. Jablonski,
Yes.
Mrs. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Lyons,
Yes.
Dr. Manis.
Yes.
Mr. Fetzer,
Yes.
Dr. Britton,
Yes.
motion carried.
We don't have any public comments on non-agenda items, so we'll move to director's comments. Do you want to start us, Ashley?
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to thank Vince for the presentation on the data, and so data persons and all of that, I'll leave, but I would be interested in the disparity, like our student subgroups and all that, I mean, I'm happy to help look at that, helpful. But yeah, it's great to see our students are succeeding and, we're doing great things academically.
I'd also like to thank Vince and Kyle for the data heavy reports that look like a lot went into those. Whenever I see, you know, the plethora of AP classes that we offer, I'm really proud of that. I think that's great. Hope that we can find a way, because I know those exams are pricey. Last time my kids took them, they were pricey. I imagine they've gone up. I hope that we can find a way to support kids who may not be able to afford to pay for them.
We can use lifting up Lewisburg for that.
I think there's a reduced.
There is a
price
reduced
already.
price, yeah, there's already a reduced price and then
Pretty reduced, yeah.
yeah, and then I think there's
I gotta check.
wordage to reach out to guidance counselors
That's a short.
if the reduced price is even, so there is effort at that. Good, thank you.
In the data report, one of the things that really stood out to me was that, I mean, some of our scores were almost double the state average. We've always been a high achieving district, but I really think that a lot of the COVID slide and some of the scoring I would love to see numbers from, again, we've always been, I mean, I think in recent years been above state average. I don't think it's ever really been nearly double, but that's pretty staggering. Not that I think that state averages have really dropped, which is alarming, but again, good to see that. I think a lot of the decisions that were made during the COVID time period here in the district have really proven to be successful. And, kudos to the staff for continuing that trajectory during the whole pandemic in the past 5 years. So great to see that our numbers, might be shifted a little bit here and there, but still very high. So compared to state averages, like I said, when some of those numbers are almost double, that's pretty staggering.
Yeah, thanks Kyle for the presentation. Thank you guys for the presentation tonight. That was great. Congrats to the students that were here. I think it was great to see our national merit finalists, and I've gotten to hear more from Julia at the CSIU meeting about her governor's school experience. And our poets as well. Somewhere my mom has a videotape of me reading something I wrote as a sixth grader at my school board. So I hope all of us grow up to go to school. Yeah, and I spent most of the day out at Lewisburg where the boys and the girls cross country varsity team both made states, and very exciting news. I have a very AYSO mindset where I'm just like everything playing at the same time. I think like nothing to do. I was actually like invested, and the feeling was like they were not confident at all that they were necessarily either state citizens. So it was really exciting, and I'm personally invested. But it's just a great feeling today.
And also, I don't know if you guys got an email. I don't think anything came to us, but I was talking with one of the Union County Commissioners on Thursday, October 30th, so next Thursday, from 6 to 8:30 at the Government Center. It's a meeting for all elected school board members, superintendents, business managers of Union County about the upcoming property reassessment. I was grateful to hear that the money that Union County is investing this year will also get the software and the whatever needed so that they can do this reassessment every 5 years or so, they said. So we will no longer go 20 years without having a property reassessment here. So, but we are all invited to that meeting. There's a lot of encouragement to come and be able to hear how the process is going to work and ask questions and all. So
And the date was what time?
October 30th, next Thursday, from 6 to 8:30.
How interesting. So I did get an email. How did anyone? Was this like a?
I think it might
Scattershot?
have just come to you, actually. The email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even look at it because almost everything comes to school board members. So I will look and see if I'll forward it if it only came to me. I apologize.
You know what time is that?
6 to 8:30
At the government center?
at the Government Center. And I forget what she said. I'm sure they'll direct her.
No, or where the sheriff's office is.
It's where
So,
the,
but across the street from the Miller Center.
yeah, across from the Miller,
Yeah.
Miller Center.
Off of 15th Street.
Behind
Yeah,
that,
15.
whatever that word is.
For the election.
Yeah, or the election.
My only thing is my plug October is Disability Employment Awareness Month. And Pennsylvania is an employment first state, and in our district, I mean, we have, well, with our CSIU, I'm like I'm missing a letter. We do have like work foundations and those programs, but just to know that supporting that's really important because it's much easier if we have our students in special education be on the same track towards the job workforce that all our other students are, and trying to employ 35-year-old people that have been told they're never gonna work. So it's important for people, we have a workforce shortage and we have lots of people that can work. So just a reminder for that, encouragement of students when they're looking at what's happening afterwards.
All the same, congratulations to all the different sports teams, and all the places they're gone and are going. I too am always impressed with where we are in the big picture of the state of Pennsylvania with our test scores. And I said it before, but I do think we are on a really good trajectory right now with some of the changes in the past couple of years with our reading program. And really addressing the needs of those youngest learners. Like, we gotta get them early and we gotta get them as build those reading skills as strong as possible. And I do think the program that we have in place is doing that. Also, just a huge thank you to our community. Last Thursday was the Dragon Dash, and the elementary PSA had their largest record-breaking amount of money raised, over $46,000. It is always amazing the support that the Dragon Dash gets. So, yay, Lewisburg.
Yeah. You good?
I think when I was just thinking if we could get the middle school to do that like 20 times.
20 times.
It's so wonderful.
I'm always happy to see the presentations and I love when our students visit us, but I don't have anything else tonight. So I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Kraus, second by Dr. Mattis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are
Thank you for your.